Alrighty, so we're here live with Tony, part two. Um, Before we bring him back in, I wanted to remind you guys about the giveaway. If you haven't entered yet, uh, it's a worldwide giveaway, so doesn't matter where you're located. Please join. Next Wednesday, we're gonna announce the winner of an Aurora host hang T-shirt, cup, stickers with the Luma people. So check on our profile, our post, and then on the Luma website, page as well here on Instagram. Um, Let me bring Mr. Tony here back. All right, Tony.
All right.
You're good there?
Yeah, I'm good. Yep, should be good.
Okay. It's charging?
Yep.
All right. So I wanted to ask you because I want to keep this, as real as possible. So um, I don't want to be, like how social media it is sometimes that we show all the good stuff and we talk with Hope, with Gabriel about showing your mistakes and
Yep.
stuff like that. So which products didn't make it that or one that actually it was out there, but again, you guys gotta pull it out of the market, or it was like,
Well,
hey, you know what,
I
it's
would
not
say
working on
we had
the states.
we had a real love hate relationship with our SATA 4000. And that 4000 gun was one where SATA had listened. Everybody was saying we need a lighter weight spray gun, smaller, this or that. But SATA was not going to give up on quality on their air caps. So they did not go to an aluminum air cap. They keep a brass center that's a much harder metal so that it doesn't change shape quickly. They still use stainless rings and all of that. So they kept the weight there, but to lower that, they went to a couple of lighter weight things inside the fan control. There was a plastic component that was it turned out to not be a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had some, but what they also did was they made that gun almost more of a finesse gun with a softer feel, lighter weight, smaller handle. So people that had always used our jet, SATA jet guns from the past, 3000s and the 2000s and the NR95s and the Jet 90s and the Jet Bs, many of them were disappointed. The gun, what it did do was that gun was designed and able to spray at a much lower air pressure. And everybody
Okay.
that was, and you had to paint closer. And everybody that was used to spraying the older guns would have the air pressure set too high, and they would call and say, "I don't like this. It's spraying dry, or I'm getting texture." And we would tell them, "Turn your air pressure down 4 pounds. Uh, go down to start at 26 on slower clears, and that 20 to 22 on fast clears." And they just wouldn't believe us. They said, "Well, that won't work. It'll be slower." Well, they'd turn it down and it would work great. So we had to over and over and over kind of retrain people on that gun. And they had to fix, they came up with some better solutions for the fan control that was breaking. And they really did that pretty quickly. Um, and then we had to go relaunch, that and figure that out. So that one, I would say the gun sprayed great if you knew how to do it. If you lowered the air pressure, you moved in closer. But there were several painters that loved it. So people that have been spraying with other brands that had never shot SATA loved it right out of the box. So we had a real mixture there. So when they introduced the SATA Jet 5000 and they took what they learned on the 4000 and put a robust fan control in it, and they redesigned the air micrometer on it because the air micrometer was leaking on the back of the gun on the 4000, and they redesigned that to be more robust. And the way they fixed that, and then the way they made the gun more flexible in gun distance and everything, and then later with the X guns, even improving on that, they really did take what things they tried out. They tried to do something revolutionary, and it worked for some, but it seemed like we were still getting sales, but we were having to work 10 times as hard to keep the sale and keep the gun in the shop. So yeah, I would say they learned something there. That was a big one. And I'm glad that they did what they did and made it better.
Okay. So what do you think about, we were talking about, the OEMs getting involved in the collision repair side and all that. And what do you think on the guns perspective and on the painting perspective, on the refinish side? Um, most manufacturers use robots and,
Yeah,
pretty much.
yeah.
So do you think that at some point will reach, a shop in Llano Lakes, Florida, or it's something that is way ahead?
Well,
Uh,
I think that's going to be years because if you painted the same car shape every time you painted, you could do that. But to have a programmer sitting there to change it so that each time you had to paint a different car, had to be reprogram the robot to hit all the right passes, that's out there a ways. We're we still sell a lot of our hand spray guns into all of those factories because every one of them has a paint hospital where they fix things that got damaged during production or assembly, or the robot doesn't have eyes, so it doesn't see what it missed, or that there was debris that got into a paint job that came from somewhere, and all that has to be fixed. So they do hand spray that. Porsche still hand sprays a lot of clear on their Cayennes and some of those different vehicles. So we still have it both. But as far as going fully robotic at a collision center, I would say the closest thing we're getting to that is some of these spray booth manufacturers. I was lucky to be able to tour um, the GFS, Global Finishing Solutions, up in Wisconsin,
mhm,
to tour that facility, and they have side by side booths that are on a track, where your cars roll up onto a dolly and they slide on a track from the prep, the body area to the prep area to the paint base area to the clear area. And that we were fortunate to be able to watch a test that they were doing with one of the paint companies there, where they took what was supposed to be a 16-hour job on a damage to a front fender, um, did the spot repair in the booth, but without using, they have all their Revo units in there, their Revo infrared, all on tracks hanging from the ceiling that run on tracks. They did it the first time, and they took a 16-hour job and they were able to do it in 12, which that's a moneymaker just because the booths were moving the right air, et cetera. And they have the roll up curtains in between each booth. But then they ran it back through and did that same repair, using the Revo on the body filler, on the primer, on the base coat, on the clear, and they were able to do that job in about an hour and 45 minutes. And so that really, then now you're talking about what might be $1.5 million or $2 million investment to put all of that in. But if you're doing that many cars and you're saving, if you're now down to where your labor is and time is 10% of what it was or should be, you can make money. And so that was impressive to me. Um, I think, and the good news is they have smaller versions of that where maybe you only use it in the priming department or you only use the light, in clear. Um,
mhm.
but they have programming on it, so you set it up depending on what clear you use at how many inches per minute that travels down the side of the car, so it knows all of that. You just type in the product you're using, and all that's built in. So they work with all the paint companies to get all those specs built in. So that's kind of impressive, that we're seeing things like that. Obviously, it's that's a big dollar amount, but it works, and that's
Crazy.
cool to see. Yeah, that's cool to see. But I think between that and the
So,
UV stuff, we're seeing, I like what's coming.
this question, pretty much, I, ask it every night, especially with people that has been in the industry for this long. Um, and it's, in regards to uh, the lack of sources, and people getting in the trade and all that.
Yeah,
So I would like to know your opinion, because you do visit shops, you
yeah,
hear from your people there out there every day. So I don't know if it's any trade school or anything in your area or something that,
yeah.
it's helping in all this or not. What is your
Well,
opinion
there's
on it?
there's a lot of great. There's getting to be a good focus back on trades. Um, it became very evident a few years ago that there's not enough technicians. It's really hard to find technicians, and there was a long time ago where if you went to Votech to be a welder or you went for body school, it was because you didn't want to do English or math. But it's a lot different than that today. Today, these techs have to know the computer scanning, and they have to know these sensors on these cars and where they're located and how to repair that, and to do what metals are we working on, and now I'm having to do a 4-stage finish on this car, and the time to plan for that isn't when the car's in the paint booth ready to be sprayed, and you realize that the toner isn't available, that you have to order
Hmm.
that factory pack, and it could take a week to get. So there's a lot to this today, and I think Votechs are getting back. There were some vocational schools out there that became, I guess, the rated G word for them would be puppy mills, where they were just pumping out, 1,000 students a year, and they'd go to a shop and didn't know anything. And I think, that's kind of behind us now. These schools are coming back stronger and better. We're seeing people on television, guys like Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs is a huge advocate um, for people going to vocational schools and learning trades. I've been involved in it pretty heavily my whole career. I'm the chairman for Skills USA's the collision, not on the collision side, but on the automotive refinish technologies team. And so we have a great team of people from all over this country, and that are from all the paint, from the paint companies that are there are between Exalta and Sickens and PPG and Sherwin-Williams and BASF, that contribute not only product but manpower and time, and put their energy in this and donate a lot of money to be able to afford. We have two 53-foot semis with one is for color tinting, and it's a whole got a 16-foot spray wall in it, and 8 spray or mixing stations and everything in it, so that you can test people on color tinting, and they have to prove it in applications. And we have the other trailer is spot repair and feather edge and prime. We have 9 spray stations in there where we can test these kids hands-on and see how they can do. And it's at the national competition level. But we find ourselves not just testing for what kids know, but we're teaching the Votech schools that are there and their instructors and the trades what they need to start teaching. So this year we had to cancel skills because the state competitions couldn't happen, and now the national competition was going to be in June, and that's not happening. But we were going to spray UV primer for the first time. So we're trying to keep people on track for what they need to teach at the school level. And in between that and the welding industry, we could really
Hmm.
we really need people to get into that. We
My
really,
wife, my wife theory is that, we gotta make it like sexy again. Shows like the one that you mentioned and stuff like that, definitely
yeah.
need to be out there. Kids need to be, that's one of the main reasons why we invite Jose last night. I don't know if you have a chance to see his work, but unbelievable. And we're actually working to give away also with one of his model cars,
Wow.
because it's crazy to see a 16-year-old in the trade, like
Yeah.
in the custom trade, right?
Yeah. That's cool. That's so cool. And right now, through this whole COVID virus, the custom side of things is incredible. What's going through? People that had money before this still have money, and now they have a lot of time on their hands if their job's closed, and they're out buying wheels and buying custom this and custom that. And the custom motorcycle world and the custom car world are doing okay. The hard part is trying to get parts, because much of the parts distribution got shut down. And so, as you know, in the car business, trying to get parts is really, you have to be patient, and it's hard to do that. It's hard to do that.
All right, Tony. So I don't know if you have anything else to add. I don't want to take much of your time. I really appreciate you to being here tonight. Anything that we
Well,
can
glad to be here.
do to help and to hear and learn from you. So thank you again for saying yes to this.
No, absolutely.
Thank you
Let me
for
know if you
helping
need any
me
more
get
help,
in.
and whatever we can do to help, we're glad to. So let me know if you need any more.
All right, Tony.
All
Thank you
right.
so
Thanks.
much. Have a
All right.
good night.
Thanks, everybody. All right. Bye.